Hey everyone, this is Laura with Laura Gadenica Astrology, and I'm here to give you the astrology for the week of August 24th through the 30th, 2020. And just a heads up, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video because there are a lot of transits happening this week. So I'll try to make it succinct and as short as possible while giving the most information. So starting on Monday, August 24th, which is today, the day that I'm doing this video, we have a square between Mars and Saturn. Squares are 90 degrees between two planets. Every sign has about 30 degrees, and squares are filled with challenges and strife and conflict, and really force us to do something about it or to take some sort of action to resolve it. It's a really dynamic aspect that requires action to be taken. This is going to play out for people in different ways because it's going to happen in different parts of your chart. Mars in general is our energy, it's our action, it's the way we take action, it's our pace in the world, it's how we're motivated. And Mars in Aries is extremely motivated. It wants what it wants, and it wants to go, and it wants to go now. It doesn't have the patience necessarily to wait. Saturn, on the other hand, is a planet about patience, determination, not giving up, commitment, integrity. Saturn is denoted as the great teacher in astrology, and oftentimes Saturn says no, or Saturn imposes challenges on us, maybe sometimes for the sake of growth, for the sake of us learning our lesson. But in general, sometimes Saturn just says no or makes things especially hard. So this is a frustrating aspect because on the one hand, Mars in Aries wants to go, 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 wants to do what it wants to do and get things done, whereas Saturn says stop, says you can't go, or if you're going to try to do what you want to do, I'm going to throw you a bunch of challenges that might get in the way or that might impose upon your ability to do what you want to do. Basically, there might be setbacks to your plans on this day, limitations, feeling of frustration. And this has also been kind of building up for the last couple weeks of August because Mars has been slowing down significantly because he's about to turn retrograde at 28 degrees of Aries. And whenever a planet's about to turn retrograde, they slow down significantly. So this energy has been building for the past few weeks, and you might have probably will have felt it for the past couple of weeks. Sometimes these aspects can play out between two different people, like you and another person, whereas one person plays out the Mars in Aries and they're like, yeah, let's go, let's do this, and then the other person plays out the Saturn where they're like, well, I don't know, I need to think about it, or we need more of a plan, we need to think about the consequences, we need to be responsible. And so this can definitely play out like that, where you or the other person are playing out one or the other planets. So yeah, it's going to be frustrating. It's been happening already for a couple of weeks as Mars has been approaching 26 degrees of Aries. And really, this is going to be felt throughout the entire month of September as well, because Mars will reach 28 degrees of Aries on September 9th, and then retrograde and still be within a 3-degree orb of Saturn. So this sense of frustration, limitation, of being told no, of pushing against the limitations, of pushing against authority, this is going to be playing out for pretty much all of September. So just kind of brace yourself. It's going to be exact a second time. So the transit or the aspect will be exact at 26 degrees of Aries and 26 degrees of Capricorn on September 30th. So it might be like kind of a build up again to kind of a pinnacle on September 30th. And then a third time that these planets are going to square each other will be on January 14th, when Saturn will have moved into Aquarius and Mars will have moved into Taurus just barely. So this is a long-term thing. We're in it for the long haul. Some strategy might be really helpful here, and it's helpful to know where this is playing out for you. It really depends on what your rising sign is. Me, for example, I'm a Gemini rising, and Mars is transiting through my 11th house of friends and groups and organizations. Saturn is in my 8th house, which is the house of debt and sex and other people's money and the occult and other people's problems. And I'll just give a short example of how this played out for me the other day. On Saturday, a group of friends and I were trying to go to a lake to have a nice time. And it turned out, at the reservoir, the parking lot was totally full. There was like a 2-hour wait. And we decided to try to find something else. Well, on the way, we saw a river on the side of the road. We're like, oh, let's just check out this river. So I am trying to stop my car to pull over, and I'm pushing as hard as I can on my brakes, and my car is not stopping. Like, it's not, my brakes are basically going out. My brake light comes on, I hear metal against metal, and my brakes are basically shot. Thankfully, like, I was safe. We were able to pull over. We actually ended up still having a really nice day at the river. Still really fun. But that's a classic example. Like, a really good analogy of this is Mars wants to step on the gas, and Saturn wants to step on the brakes. And for me, this was a classic example of, like, I was trying to step on the brakes and I wasn't really able to. In that case, it's kind of like, well, Mars might have won in that instance, but Saturn also did too, because now my car's in the car shop and I'm probably going to have to, like, spend to get my car fixed. That's like Saturn playing out my 8th house of money and debt. So that's one example of how this energy played out for me. If you're curious about how the astrology is playing out for you in your chart, we can always do a consultation. My website is lauragodenick.com. So, a little bit of strategy would be helpful over the next couple of months. It's a matter of, like, where do you want to spend your energy? And maybe is it a good idea to conserve your energy and really contemplate as to what you're trying to go for and what you really want, because the brakes are going to be put on that several times. Yeah, just in general, thinking about the things you're putting a lot of effort into, the things you're really excited about, really thinking about the long term or the long game, and being prepared, and being prepared to wait, being prepared for setbacks and challenges, being prepared for the answer no, and really developing a strategy so that you can use this energy productively. That's my advice. Okay, on Tuesday, August 25th, we have Mercury in Virgo making a lovely trine to Uranus in Taurus. Trines are full of ease, they provide opportunities, they're nice aspects. Mercury rules over the mind, communication, how you exchange ideas with others. And Uranus is the planet of innovation, revolution, revelation, progressiveness, high mindedness. This would be a great day to have a conversation with someone regarding new ideas or philosophical ideas, or kind of ideas for what could be, for how society could function in an idealistic way. This is a very mentally stimulating aspect. You might be really bored on this day if you don't feed your mind with interesting, innovative information or conversations. Mercury in Virgo is exalted, meaning Mercury functions very well in Virgo. This is, like I talked about last week, a time to really get stuff done, really get those detailed tasks out of the way, get organized. Any analytical projects or tasks that need to be done, this is the time to do it. Your mind is sharp at this time. So, and Mercury in Virgo is really about like daily processes, and daily routine, and kind of taking the small steps to get to where you want to go, because Mercury in Virgo is very detail oriented, and Uranus is all about innovating and changing. So this is a good opportunity to innovate your daily process, your daily routine, make the mundane a little bit more exciting or interesting. Maybe shake things up a little bit. Don't do your normal daily thing. Take some risks. Um, Especially involving conversation with others. Don't be afraid to get into maybe not like a debate, but just like being willing to be open to new ideas. Try to stimulate your mind. Don't do anything that will bore you to tears. Reinventing your daily routine, making it more efficient and making it work better for you. So that's a really nice aspect. On the same day, however, we have Venus in Cancer making an opposition to Jupiter in Capricorn. Yes, it's finally here where lovely Venus in sensitive Cancer is going to be making these oppositions to these harsher planets in Capricorn. Now, these two, Venus and Jupiter, are the two benefics in astrology. Traditionally, they bring very positive things, good things, benevolent things to us, right? The only problem is that Jupiter in Capricorn is in the sign of its fall, meaning Jupiter can't really give all the gifts that it wants to in the barren sign of Capricorn. It just doesn't work that way. And sometimes a benefic like Jupiter in the sign of its fall can actually bring more negative experiences to us. So the things I would say to look out for: Venus in Cancer wants sweet treats, has a sweet tooth. Cancer rules over food and comfort and home. And I could see Venus in Cancer really indicating like having a sweet tooth of some kind. And you can even apply that to like be a metaphor in other areas of your life, having cravings, wanting chocolate, wanting candy, wanting to bake, all these like really nice things. But there can definitely be, especially with an aspect to Jupiter, an overindulgence. Eating so many sweets you feel sick, maybe putting on a couple pounds. In general, overdoing it, overindulgence. Venus indicates finances and money as well, and this could indicate an expense that you might have on this day that you might not have the budget for. With me and my car, for example, I'm not sure how much getting my brakes fixed is going to cost. And it might be kind of this like unexpected expense, right? It is unexpected. And it might, it's probably going to cost a couple $100s and be a little bit more than like I really want to spend. So, and in that way, it can be a huge disappointment, right? Jupiter, usually wanting to bring benevolent and good things, Jupiter in Capricorn, the sign of its fall, might bring things that are disappointing or that aren't benevolent, that are actually maybe a little bit harmful or challenging. So Venus in Cancer might want to really relax and indulge, right? And enjoy the day and not work too hard. Venus wants leisure, Venus wants pleasure. But in opposition to Jupiter and Capricorn, it's like, well, there might be a heightened sense or a heightened desire for that, but not being able to fully relax, maybe feeling like you have too much on your plate, or you have other duties or obligations. Yeah, so my advice there would be, definitely you gotta, in these situations with oppositions, you need to cater to both planets. Definitely schedule some time for yourself to relax and enjoy things that are pleasurable, including food, but also, don't give in too much. Make sure that you leave time to get your things done. Another possibility here is, like I said, Venus wants to indulge and experience pleasure. So does Jupiter, but once again, Jupiter being in Capricorn kind of maybe says no to that. So this could be also indulging in something, but then ultimately being disappointed in the outcome or in the experience, and maybe feeling guilty, or like it just didn't measure up to what you were expecting or wanting, or being disappointed in what you do find or do experience. if you do give in to those desires for pleasure and sweetness, it could just indicate consequences later. So once again, that balance is really important, making sure Venus in Cancer gets what she needs, but also making sure that Jupiter in Capricorn gets what he needs or wants to give to you. um, this is like what I call working consciously with the planetary energies. If we're aware of the aspects of the day, we can really cater to all energies in the chart rather than, you know, going about our day in an unconscious manner and then having the planets play us or enact their energies onto us. You know, it's kind of like empowerment versus victimhood, I think. So yeah, so basically Tuesday, it's kind of a mixed day here because, you know, on the one hand, Mercury's making a nice aspect to Uranus, but then Venus and Cancer is making this opposition to Jupiter. So, you know, making sure that you know, in this trine with Mercury and Uranus, making sure you're not bored, you're engaging yourself in interesting ideas, you're maybe refining your routine or your daily practice, or innovating it in some way, and engaging in certain pleasures and giving your Venus what she desires, but also making sure you get your stuff done and you know, get your work done. So that's kind of the energy for Tuesday, August 25th. So Thursday, this week there's a lot of Venus action. Thursday we have Venus again making a lovely trine to Neptune. Trines are full of ease and possibility and potential. Um, Venus, of course, is pleasure and love and romance and creativity. Um, so this is a great day for creative expression in general, working on any sort of home projects. Venus and Cancer, once again, that concept of like beautifying the home, um, making things lovely and comfortable and comforting in your house. And Neptune is a planet of glamorizing or idealizing ideals, vision, seeing things through rose-colored glasses. Trines, thankfully, bring out more of the positive aspects of Neptune, so great time for creativity at home. Not great for getting anything done, like anything that requires a lot of like focus or mental tasks. I mean, kind of at the same time, Mercury ruling over detailed mental tasks that require analysis. Mercury is slowly approaching an opposition with Neptune, so, and we'll get there later this week. So yeah, this is a good time to focus on things that require creativity and imagination, but not necessarily details or anything mundane. You know, good time to spend in Fantasyland and daydreams. This is going to be a day where you'll have a lot of compassion for other people. Maybe you want to be of service or helpful. If there's like any relationship started at this time around this day, that it'd be actually pretty interesting because, you know, Venus is also, you know, making this opposition to all these Capricorn planets. And Neptune is kind of interfering with like a sextile and then the trine. So this would be a really interesting time to start a relationship or be in a relationship. Mainly to like if you're starting a relationship, I'd say. You know, this could be a time where romance will have an otherworldly quality. Um, you know, you could feel like you've met your soulmate, um, but also Neptune rules over delusions and rose-colored glasses. So it's, you know, and Mercury in opposition to Neptune, you're not as discerning as you normally would be. So be mindful of that, you know. I would say enjoy this energy, but don't believe in it too much, especially since, you know, we're not really super clear-headed this week with Mercury coming up to that opposition, and also Venus making this opposition to Pluto coming up. There could be potential for being like hijacked or delusional or deluded or not seeing clearly, and um, really really having strong emotions around this, if there's a person involved, a romantic person. Saturday the 29th, Mercury makes the trine with Jupiter, um, in its fall once again. But at least with a trine, more of the positive possibilities of both Mercury in Virgo and Jupiter in Capricorn, even if it's in the sign of its fall, are going to come out. This is a good time to get practical things done that involved detailed tasks. I still can't get over, though, Mercury's approaching that opposition with Neptune, right? Still happening. So, this is the perfect example I have is actually my household. We have a plan on Saturday to watch a movie about an older religious tradition, and I just thought that this was the perfect way to utilize this energy, and because, so first of all, Neptune is the planet of film and poetry and pictures, and also just film, right? Film in general. And Jupiter is a planet about religion, uh, spirituality, the higher mind. And in Capricorn's a sign all about tradition. So Jupiter in Capricorn's about religious traditions. And Mercury and Virgo is the analytical mind. So really picking apart and analyzing and being very curious and interested in analyzing a film about religious tradition. And so I think it'd be a good idea to make a plan to utilize the energy consciously in that way. Like maybe you could also watch a film about a religious tradition. That could be a good way to utilize the energy. Or maybe you attend a religious service on this day of traditional origin. Yeah, like there's this kind of weird quality of mysticism involved this week, especially kind of later on in the week, with Neptune getting a lot of involvement. Neptune in Pisces is mysticism, magic, um, what's possible in this world, what's otherworldly, literally what's otherworldly, what's behind the veil. Jupiter indicates religion, like I just said, and in Capricorn, tradition, things that have held through time. Um, and Virgo is definitely this analytical quality. So yeah, that's kind of what's coming up for me for this aspect. And then Sunday, the 30th, is when we have Venus making the exact aspect to Pluto. I mean, she's still in a tight trine with Neptune. And then Neptune, of course, is sextiling Pluto. So maybe some more of the more traditional negative implications of Venus opposite Pluto might not be as relevant here because Neptune is kind of breaking up the bad mojo. But this is definitely, Venus being the planet of relationships, this is going to intensify experiences of love and in relationships. Pluto does have a very kind of possessive, jealous quality to it. And also control is a big Pluto word. Overbearing. I would say, especially if you're a woman, be careful around the weekend, leading up to Sunday and even a couple days after. Don't go walking in any dark alleys. I mean, don't do that anyway, but don't go walking or running in any parks by yourself. This is kind of a red flag. Venus in Cancer speaks to women. I mean, Venus is a planet about women, and Cancer is a sign about women. Um, And making this opposition to Pluto, Pluto and Capricorn, Pluto is about control and being in charge and manipulation and jealousy. And, with Neptune involved, Neptune can be delusionment, not seeing things clearly, rose-colored glasses. Um, so those are kind of what could play out in a more negative sense with this. I do think there's a lot of potential for positive things to happen. This could be like falling deeply in love, or really, or feeling really enthralled by someone, or feeling really intrigued or interested in someone, and you have that Neptune quality of like maybe there's even a spiritual or religious quality to your dynamic with this person or to the person in general of interest. And there's this kind of mystical, ethereal beauty about them, um, and and it could lead to feeling some really intense emotions. Pluto Venus aspects, especially when Cancer is involved, Cancer ruling over emotions because it's um, ruled by the moon. The moon rules over our emotions, instincts, intuition, etc. This could definitely be feeling or having strong emotions stirred inside of you that maybe you didn't realize were there or that were possible to feel. um, yeah, my advice would just be to try to keep your feet on solid ground. Don't get overly excited or overly convinced that this person is the one. Um, enjoy this experience. Be careful during this experience. Make sure to keep your mind as clear as possible, especially because this is the day where Mercury is making the exact opposition to Neptune. So clear thinking isn't really in our courts on this day. It's more challenging to be clear-headed and logical, and we might really let our fancies or our dreams or our feelings rule over our actions. Um, and it's not to say that your experience on this day isn't real. I would just say don't make any decisions based on how you feel leading up to next weekend and or on next weekend or a couple days after. This is a really intense time for Venus and Mercury. You're not thinking clearly or straight, and you're kind of maybe enthralled by someone, even if it's not romantic. Venus rules over all kinds of relationships. You might just be enthralled with someone or something that involves the spiritual, the mystical, um, uh, and it might have like a very powerful effect on you. I'm thinking of Pluto over here. Like it might have a really big impact on your mind, on your beliefs, because at the same time, Mercury's making a trine to all these Capricorn planets. Um, so yeah, this has the potential to be really great, maybe being really enthralled or really enveloped, and kind of possibly obsessed, possibly like a little too much, like I'm way into this, but really enthralled in something mystical and magical and powerful that could really have to do with beliefs, with your belief system, with spirituality, with religion, with mysticism, with ancient traditional mysticism. So it could be, really impactful on you and your belief system. It's just a matter of like, yeah, kind of balancing all of these things within us out, balancing our logical, maybe more detached, objective side, but while allowing us to ourselves to fully experience the mystical, the magical, the otherworldly, and be drawn in by its power. But being mindful of not being manipulated or coerced or or controlled, or being mindful of something or someone being dogmatic. Dogma always indicates control issues. Um, so yeah, it's really, really interesting week, actually. There's so much potential for the positives and negatives, and it's really about, like I said, using the energy consciously and keeping your head straight on yourself. Let's see. Some other things to kind of look out for with Venus opposing Pluto. I mean, I talked about intensifying experiences in your love life. Be mindful of jealousy, possessiveness, overbearing, predatory behavior, especially if you're a woman. You could be irresistibly attracted to someone who isn't good for you or who isn't available. If there's a relationship that started under this transit, it's bound to be, there can be some power struggle, some jealousy, some manipulation, some mysticism involved, some like soulmate stuff, really feeling like you found your match. And also disappointment and love as well. Be mindful of airing tensions, not letting them build up. Pluto can be a little bit explosive. I mean, Pluto indicates crisis, and Venus indicates women in Cancer. So there could be something building up to a crisis involving women in your life. And I bring that in also because Mercury in Virgo is a sign all about women as well. It's one of the other signs of independent women specifically. So, there could be a crisis involving women in your life or women in your family, because Venus in Cancer is about family. It looks like the crisis could turn out okay in the end because of the other trines and other more positive aspects, but it still might be challenging or difficult. There could be constructive changes regarding power dynamics in your relationships. Unconscious power dynamics can be brought up with regards to relationships. There could be compulsiveness regarding Venus things, so compulsiveness regarding love, pleasure, food, leisure, sweets. You could find pleasure in things that are dark, mysterious, mystical, find pleasure in power dynamics or in control. Just make sure consent is involved if that becomes sexual. And then, with Mercury opposite Neptune, it can be this very otherworldly, ethereal experience. But be careful of disillusionment, disappointments later. Avoid signing contracts or making commitments on this day because you're, not really seeing things clearly, or things could seem better than they appear. Allow yourself to experience the beauty of possibilities while keeping your feet firmly on the ground, right? It could also, Mercury in Virgo is really good at nitpicking and picking things apart and analyzing. So nitpick anything you encounter that's magical or mystical. Or you could do that and then take away from the experience, but it could also be beneficial to be nitpicky and analytical throughout this week with regards to these types of experiences. Yeah, so there's so much going on this week. It's going to be really interesting. I'd love to hear from you guys and hear how it's playing out for you. Sorry this video is really long. I probably repeated myself a bunch. I just really felt like I needed to drive in all the possibilities and points of how these planets are playing out and the symbolism and archetypes behind them all. So thanks for bearing with me, and please comment in the comment box about how the week goes for you. All right. And I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to giving you the astrology of next week. Bye.